Alright, what's up guys? This is going to be my next part of watching this video. The Accent Expert gives a tour of US accents. This is Eric Singer's tour of different accents across English-speaking North America. We did part 1 a couple days ago. This one's going to be part 2 and we stopped with Appalachia, and then the Outer Banks was the next one. And judging by this video that I did in the past, the strongest American accents, I think Outer Banks was number 1 or 2. So I'm curious about this one. Here we go.
Picking up again in North Carolina. Over in the Outer Banks, there's an even more historically isolated community. Because of a shift in shipping patterns in the mid-19th century, and probably also because of sympathizing with the Northern cause in the Civil War, Ocracoke Island was relatively isolated from the mainland for a long time.
It sounds like a British accent, almost like something Scottish-Irish mixed there.
It developed maybe one of the most distinctive and different dialects in North America. Obliging islanders will sometimes say to tourists, well, it's high tide on the sound side.
Well, it's high tide on the sound side.
Last night the water fire, night the moonshine.
Last night the water fire, tonight the moonshine.
No fish. Ocracoke Islanders are sometimes called high tiders because of that particularly distinctive I sound. And their accent is sometimes taken to be British or Australian, even by Brits. And truth be told, there are some similarities with some regional English accents, including that high tide vowel sound, which is similar to both southwestern English accents like Devon or Gloucestershire, and East Anglian accents like Norfolk and Suffolk, those easternmost counties of England. Curiously, another distinctive thing about the old Ocracoke accent is it's also got a real sort of bounce to it, which is something that both those southwestern and those East Anglian accents also have in common. North Carolina is actually one of the most linguistically diverse states in the country. I want to bring in Kalina Newmark now to talk about Native American English.
Hello, my name is Kalina Newmark and I am Talitha Dene First Nations from the Northwest Territories, Canada. I come from a strong line of Dene and Métis leaders who are passionate about our language and cultural teachings. The Lumbee tribe is the largest state-recognized Native American tribe in North Carolina.
So far she speaks very clear, neutral English, I would say.
Lumbee speakers combine and pronounce English words that distinguish them from African American and Southern speakers. Since encountering white settlers in the mid-1800s, the Lumbee have carved out a dialect of English that is uniquely theirs. One interesting feature is that Lumbee English speakers share vowel sounds present in the Outer Banks accent, where tide is pronounced toid. You can hear that in this native speaker clip.
Well, when he got halfway, that little ditch on this side. Ditch on this side, ditch on this side.
Ditch on this side.
Thank you, Kalina. So that Ocracoke Island high tider accent is an accent that's disappearing fast.
Ocracoke, what a cool name
tend to speak much more mainstream American English. There's a popular idea that we're losing regional accents, that people are sounding more and more similar. That's true of some people in some places, especially some of these isolated communities. But it's not true across the board. There are actually plenty of accent differences that are getting more and more distinct over time.
That's a very interesting point. I was under the impression that it does get more similar over time because of globalization, media, and our connectiveness. So that's interesting. Let's see what he says about that.
But of course, it's a complex picture. There are parts of the South that don't have all that much Southern about them, accent-wise. Raleigh, North Carolina, and Austin, Texas are two good examples. A lot of people from those two cities may be pretty hard to identify by their accents.
It's interesting that he chooses these two cities that I looked into a lot, and I think these two are two of the most liberal cities in fairly conservative states. So does that have anything to do with it, I wonder?
Which brings us to what is sometimes called General American. What's General American? The first thing is, it's not one accent.
All right.
It's basically a terrible term for a wide variety of accents that essentially don't have a lot of obvious regionally distinctive features in them. We're going to talk to Sun Michaud now. Sun is a native speaker of Gullah, a fascinating and really important Creole language spoken in the Low Countries in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida.
What a cool name. Sun Michaud, Gullah teacher.
Gullah is a language spoken in a region of the United States called the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor, which extends officially from Wilmington, North Carolina, down to Jacksonville, Florida. Gullah is an Atlantic Creole, most similar with Bohemian Creole English and Bajan Creole. In fact, when I visited the Bahamas, A bunch of the local them thought that I'd been a local too. There are a variety of factors that inform the language. For instance, the secluded plantations on the Sea Island, a mixture of African languages, as well as the accents of lower class English and Irish indentured servants and slavers. European slavers were so ill-suited for the Sea Island's environment that they would often afford long periods of solitary time to our ancestors with little to no oversight. Slavers would mismatch the languages in order to confound them and hinder their ability to organize rebellions. Now, the scheme of this tactic was designed for our Gullah Geechee ancestors to be forced to speak English so that their overseers could be privy to their communications. But what slavers didn't predict is that this first generation English-based African pidgin would develop into a Creole, a fully mature rule-governed language of its own, much of which remains with us today due to generations of forced segregation and eventual separation by choice before the building of bridges that increased easy access to and fro.
Really
I'm
interested to hear
a
it
few
now.
distinct features of the Gullah Geechee accent. For example, the kit-foot vowels are reversed for the words fish and foot to sound like fush and fit. The lot trap vowels are reversed for God and pat to sound like gad and pot.
Gad and pot. God and pat. Gad and pot. Guys, quick interruption here. If you are fascinated by the United States and all these American topics like I am, then maybe consider subscribing to my channel. I am a small channel. I'm trying to grow and I'm trying to learn about the United States and I find it very interesting. And if you do too, then please click that button. But now back to the video.
The softening of the T's, where butter and bent would sound like butter and bean.
I like that. This sounds so southern, the band. Butter, butter, band.
Other speakers also drop consonants for vowels where the two words meet. For instance, in the sentences that gal there and that boy there,
That boy there, that gal there.
the word for there, de, adds or subtracts the D depending on if there's a consonant or a vowel preceding it. The importance of accent to the Gullah Geechee language simply cannot be overstated. It is the clearest bond between ourselves and other displaced Africans throughout colonized spaces in the Black diaspora. How we sound is as important as what we say, because our accent is a statement in itself.
Because our accent is a statement in itself. Yeah, I kind of wish they would speak the accent a little bit more if they are capable of it while explaining about it. That would be just hearing it a little bit longer in a more fluent way. Would be nice to hear.
This has been your Gullah teacher, son Michaud. Stay safe, and as always, we out ya. Peace.
Thank you so much, son. So, if you're keeping count, that's 6 Southern accents already, even though we're not being remotely comprehensive here, and we've only been through a few states. Lots more to come. As we get into the Piney Woods belt, Southern Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi, and
The Piney Woods belt. I have never heard that, and I love that name for it, man.
Northern Florida. We get into one of the parts of the South that's
Isn't that the Panhandle? We're kind of part of it, right?
always been rhotic. A lot of the South was historically non-rhotic. That's where you get this sort of Blanche Dubois, Scarlett O'Hara kind of classical Southern accent. You can hear that in this clip here.
I've always depended on the kindness of strangers.
You hear how there's no R in strangers?
Stranger.
Stranger.
That's a non-rhotic accent. But that's changed, and changed fast over the last few decades, so that most younger white Southerners are now rhotic. In most of the Piney Woods belt, though, they always have been. Now, Nicole talked about the fact that some African-American speakers in the Southern Appalachians smooth out the I diphthong, the price vowel in some words, and we get a long I sound. But in other words, it stays a diphthong, I. And this is a pattern we find in a lot of the South. In most of the Piney Woods belt, though, there's always been what we can describe as full price smoothing, where some Southerners smooth the diphthong in words like fly, rise, and ride.
She was Myron, my ride.
But use a diphthong in rice and right. Here in the Piney
Right.
Woods belt, we're going to smooth them all. Fly, rise, ride,
Fly, rise, ride.
and rice, ride, life, night.
Live, night, dude. It's information overload here, and I feel like I know what it's supposed to sound like, and the stuff that comes out of my mouth is just something different.
And so on. There's an interesting posture thing here too, which is that you start to get tongue tips that are very edge focused. And what I mean by that is that instead of using this part of the tongue, the blade, for things like T and D sounds, so that there's a lot of surface contact, t, duh, we just use the narrow edge of the tongue. So it's a more focused contact area, t, duh. 10 tired turtles talk about dentists.
Talk about dentists.
We're going to end part 1 right here, but we're going to continue this all the way across the continent. We're going to go to Chicago and Southern California, and yes, absolutely, we'll get out in a boat up in Canada.
Oh, Canada too. All right, this is interesting. It's a very fun video. This was my part 2. I just learned this video series of him doing this is a 3-part series, so there's way more to go. If you find this accent stuff interesting, I certainly do. I want to learn more about that, and I want to get better at imitating accents as well. So, if you want me to continue down this trend, then let me know and I'll do another one. Until then, I'll see you in the next one. I don't know, there was maybe some mix of everything. Bye bye.